To our daily session, pre-Isha. I will talk today about two surahs, inshallah. I'm going to try and fit At-Tur and An-Najm in one talk today, inshallah. Again, this mihwar, this cluster of surahs, starting with Qaf, ending with the Hadid. They offer these comparisons, and then they offer these choices. And they're very similar, like the surahs have similarities, but they're also unique in the comparisons that they're making. But you will find, and I will point them out inshallah at the end of the cluster, you will find these common threads that within the surahs that are repeated, especially when it's talking about jaza and iqab, talking about the punishment and reward, yawm al-qiyamah and jannah and nar. You'll find this repeated almost in every surah, because at the end of the day, whatever comparison that is made in these surah, is going to look at the consequences, what these choices are going to lead to, and in the choices that the surahs are making or giving us, and the comparisons that the surahs are giving us. Ultimately, the choices will lead to one of the two consequences, reward or punishment. Surat At-Tur, after Surat Al-Dhariyat, which we talked about yesterday, and that compared, Surat Al-Dhariyat basically compared living a life that is functional, that has purpose, versus living a life that has no function, has no purpose. Surat Qaf before that talked about the general comparison. It gave us the two, it just mapped out for us the story of life and the story of existence and death and what comes after death, and then allowed us to take a flashback and see what do you want to be, which road do you want to go on. And that is like the umbrella comparison that Surat Qaf offers, and that's why it's a very powerful and important surah in the Quran. Surat At-Tur offers a comparison between belief, guidance, versus disbelief and misguidance. And it's a very simple one, but it's very important at the same time. He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالطُّورِ وَكِتَابٍ مَسْطُورٍ فِي رَقٍّ مَنْشُورٍ وَالْبَيْتِ الْمَعْمُورِ وَالسَّقْفِ الْمَرْفُوعِ وَالْبَحْرِ الْمَسْجُورِ إِنَّ عَذَابَ رَبِّكَ لَوَاقِعٌ مَا لَهُ مِنْ دَافِعٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath by At-Tur, the mountain, referring to the mountain that Musa alayhi salam was given his revelation on. وَالطُّورِ وَكِتَابٍ مَسْطُورٍ, and he takes an oath subhanahu wa ta'ala by the book, فِي رَقٍّ مَنْشُورٍ, that is written on a piece of wood or a piece of paper, referring to the books that the Prophets ﷺ were given. And وَالْبَيْتِ الْمَعْمُورِ, referring to the Kaaba. وَالسَّقْفِ الْمَرْفُوعِ, referring to the skies that are above us. وَالْبَحْرِ الْمَسْجُورِ, referring to the oceans beneath us. It's painting this picture of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within this world, He sent guidance. Musa received it on the mountain, and books were given, and the Kaaba was built, and it's all within this world that you live in. إِنَّ عَذَابَ رَبِّكَ لَوَاقِعٌ. Then He makes an oath subhanahu wa ta'ala that indeed the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will occur. مَا لَهُ مِنْ دَافِعٍ, nothing will stop it. And this part of the Quran is, these surah that we're reading are extremely powerful and very strict and the language is thicker than you'll find other surahs in the Quran, because it's a serious comparison that's requiring serious choice making, and making these decisions have to be, it has to be serious. It's because it's not a game. And this same theme has come up multiple times within just a couple of surahs that I've talked about since the beginning of the month. He continues subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, فَوَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي خَوْضٍ يَلْعَبُونَ يَوْمَ يُدَعُّونَ إِلَى نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ دَعًّا. Give warning of punishment for those who مُكَذِّبِينَ. Mukaththib is someone who refuses to believe something that he knows is the truth. Kufr is just disbelief. Takdhib is a higher level. So when most likely this is true, but I'm not going to accept it anyways for personal reasons. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي خَوْضٍ يَلْعَبُونَ, the ones who are in a state of loss, just playing around. خَوْضٍ يَلْعَبُونَ. Khawd is just doing something that is useless. يَلْعَبُونَ, play. On the day of judgment, when they are going to be taken to their punishment in a humiliating way. And they'll be told, اصلوها فاصبروا أو لا تصبروا سواء عليكم. Enter it, whether you show perseverance today or not, doesn't make a difference. This is the punishment that you're given based on what you did. إِنَّمَا تُجْزَوْنَ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And then the verses, jump quickly to al-muttaqeen, to the pious. إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَنَعِيمٍ فَاكِهِينَ بِمَا آتَاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ. And it shows the pious as they are in the paradise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a state of happiness. And the verses actually describe it in some detail. But within those verses, he says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُمْ بِإِيمَانٍ ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم وما ألتناهم من عملهم من شيء كل امرئ بما كسب رهين. The ones who believed, who had iman, who had guidance, واتبعتهم ذريتهم بإيمان, and they made sure that their children had guidance. ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم, we made sure that their children, their families were with them يوم القيامة. If there's one person within the family that's higher status, if that family worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala together, if they found guidance together, they will be in the status of the highest person within that family. وَمَا أَلَتْنَاهُمْ مِنْ عَمَلِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. No one's going to lose any of their good deeds. It's just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to join the lower part, those in a lower status in Jannah of the family to those in the higher status. كُلُّ امْرِئٍ بِمَا كَسَبَ رَهِينٌ. But everyone يوم القيامة is going to be held, is hostage to what they did, hostage to their deeds, to their actions. سورة الطور, واليوم أحدثكم إن شاء الله عن سورتي الطور والنجم إذا سمح الوقت وسمح لنا الوقت. فسورة الطور تقارن بين الإيمان والهدى والكفر والضلال. أن يكون الإنسان في حال أن يجد الإنسان الإيمان والهدى أو أن يعيش حياة هي ضلال. هذا يختلف عن سورة الذاريات التي تحدثت عن أن يكون الإنسان ذا وظيفة، ذا غاية، ذا هدف. يعني القضيتان مختلفتان، أن يجد الإنسان وظيفته شيء وأن يجد الهداية، أن يجد الهدى والإيمان، هذا أمر مختلف. فتبدأ السورة بداية قوية، يقسم الله سبحانه وتعالى بالطور، الجبل الذي يعني بعث عليه موسى، يقسم بالكتاب ومصدر الهدى في هذه يعني في حياتنا، يقسم بالبيت المعمور وهذه إشارة إلى الكعبة والله أعلم، يقسم بالسقف المرفوع والبحر المسجور، السماء والبحر الذي عليه تحصل الحياة ويعيش الإنسان، يقسم إن عذابه لواقع. ونسمع هذه اللهجة القوية في سورة الطور، لهجة قوية لأن المقارنة هنا في منتهى الأهمية والاختيار هنا في منتهى الأهمية، اختيار يحتاج جدية. فيقول فويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين هم في خوض يلعبون، في خوض، يحيا حياة لا معنى لها، يلعب. يوم يدعون إلى نار جهنم دعا يؤخذ إذلالا مذلولا والعياذ بالله. يقال له اصلوها تصبروا أو لا تصبروا سواء عليكم. الصبر كان في الدنيا، يوم القيامة تصبر على العقاب، ما تصبر ما تفرق. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى السلامة. ثم ينتقل جل جلاله للحديث عن المتقين في جنات ونعيم فاكهين بما آتاهم ربهم، وتصف المتكئين على سرر مصفوفة وزوجناهم بحور يتنازعون فيها كأسا، آيات تشرح يعني النعيم الذي هم فيه. لكن في منتصف هذه الآيات يقول سبحانه وتعالى والذين آمنوا واتبعتهم ذريتهم بإيمان. هذا الذي آمن ثم حرص على أن تكون ذريته ذات إيمان، ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم، حتى لو لم تكن أعمالهم على مستوى عمله، حتى لو لم يكن إيمانهم على مستوى إيمانه، يلحقون به يوم القيامة. وهكذا شأن كل العائلات. إذا كان في العائلة إنسان صالح واجتمعت هذه العائلة على خير، فالله سبحانه وتعالى يجمع الجميع على درجة أعلاهم في الجنة، ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم وما ألتناهم من عملهم من شيء، وما ينقص من أجر هذا الذي اجتهد من شيء حتى تلحق به ذريته، إنما عطاء من الله. كل امرئ بما كسب رهين. يقول سبحانه وتعالى في الآخر أنت رهين كسبك، لكن هذا هو أثر الإيمان والهدى إذا وجدت في عائلة. Subhanahu wa ta'ala after that tells the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam in some of the most interesting verses to me in the Quran, and I'll share them with you today and I hope you'll find them similar. فذكر فما أنت بنعمة ربك بكاهن ولا مجنون. To remind them, indeed you're not a sorcerer or insane based on what you're telling them, even though that's what they're calling you, you're not. And then the ayat started going in a certain way. أم يقولون شاعر نتربص به ريب المنون أم تأمرهم أحلامهم بهذا أم هم قوم طاغون أم يقولون تقوله. This at the beginning, what it means in English is, so why is it that they won't believe? Is it because of this? Or is it because of this? Or is this the reason? Or is that? So here serves at that as or. But it serves within the context of the question. Why don't you want to believe? Why don't you want to follow this guidance? And the verses, there's like at least 10 or 11 of them, I forget the number, that go in a row, just asking, or this, or is it that, or is it that? They put together one of the most structured philosophical, theological arguments that you will find. For those who read the Quran will find it, yeah, it's nice. But for those who are interested in Islamic theology, this is a gold mine. It's amazing the concepts and the topics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes through just with these questions. And if it wasn't for time, I would take them down, just break them down for you. They're extremely interesting. So why is it that they won't believe? That they're saying, sha'ir, they think you're a poet, so we'll just wait until he dies? Or is it ta'muruhum ahlam, or is this what your thought process has led you to? Am hum qawmun taghun, or are you just someone who's oppressive, transgressive, who's too arrogant to admit that maybe they were making the wrong choice? Or is it that they say that you made it up? فَلْيَأْتُوا بِحَدِيثٍ مِثْلِهِ. May they make something up similar to it. Go ahead, try. Try and make up a story that fulfills every aspect of life and history and bring it forward. Let's see how well you can do. And then produce a book that is as artistic as it is philosophical. Let's see. أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ. Or were they created from nothing? غَيْر شَيْء in Arabic means la shay, nothing. Did they come from nothing? They just appeared? That's how they think this all works. أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Or did they create themselves? أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Or did one of them create the cosmos and the earth the way it is? بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. They just don't want to be certain. They don't want to believe. And the verses just continue asking these questions. Asking questions, why don't you want to find guidance? They're beautiful ayat. The last one of them, أَمْ لَهُمْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ. Or do they have a Lord besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? سُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. وإن يروا كسفا من السماء ساقطا يقولوا سحاب مركوم فذرهم حتى يلاقوا يومهم الذي فيه يصعقون يوم لا يغني عنهم كيدهم شيئا ولا هم ينصرون. And the day comes and the sky starts to fall, they'll say it's just a few clouds. Meaning they will continue to refuse every sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how clear it comes. Those who don't want to be guided will not be guided. There's nothing you can show them. There's nothing you can say to them. They can see it with their own eyes. They can see the sky falling and they'll still find a way to understand it where they won't find guidance. So leave them. I think leave them until they find the day where they're going to be shocked. Yusaqun is a shock. When they finally see it and they have no way to interpret it in a different manner or understand it differently, they have to face what's staring at them and they have to believe. The ayah at the end of the surah tells the Prophet ﷺ, وَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. So show some perseverance and wait until Allah subhanahu, keep on doing this until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants His judgment in which way people are going to go. فَإِنَّكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا. Indeed, you are in our eyes. Now, this is a figure of speech. What it means, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, when he says that, obviously the Prophet ﷺ does not physically exist in the eyes of God because that's impossible and there's no meaning for it. But figuratively means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. And He is taking care of you and He continues to protect you. And He loves you. And even today, if you go to an Arabic country, someone who wants to say something nice to you will say, بِعْيُونِي وَعَلَى عَيْنِي. It's just the usage of the term. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ حِينَ تَقُومُ وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْهُ وَإِدْبَارَ النُّجُومِ. And continue to exalt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning and at the night, and as you stare at those stars. And this is what Surat At-Tur offers. What do you want to be? Do you want to be like the people who will refuse every argument that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is offering? Why is it that you won't believe? And will continue to deny what is clear until the day that comes where they are shocked? Or do you want to be someone who, as the surah pointed out, will have their family join them because they were guided together and they had iman together? It's a choice. Just choose what you want. Either way, just show perseverance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to watch over you. ثم تتابع السورة بمجموعة من الآيات من أجمل ما في القرآن. إذ الله سبحانه وتعالى يعني يناقش الكفار مناقشة علمية عن سبب رفضهم للهدى والإيمان بأسلوب بليغ عظيم جميل. يعني فيأمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فذكر فما أنت بنعمة ربك بكاهن ولا مجنون. ثم يقول أم يقولون شاعر. أم هذه بمعنى أن ما سبب رفضهم للهدى؟ ما سبب رفضهم للإيمان؟ لأنهم يقولون شاعر يتربص به ريب المنون. أم تأمرهم أحلامهم بهذا؟ أم يقولون تقوله؟ أم خلقوا من غير شيء، أي خلقوا جاءوا من لا شيء هكذا ظهروا دون أن يكون لهم مظهر وجاءوا بدون أن يكون قد أتى بهم أحد. أم هم الخالقون أم هم الذين أتوا بهذا كله؟ أم خلقوا السماوات والأرض أم له البنات ولكم البنون أم يريدون كيدا أم لهم إله؟ أسئلة على فكرة نقاش عقدي يعني بمنتهى الجمال. تسأل سؤالا يعني تسأل سؤالا واحدا بعدة طرق. لماذا لا تؤمن؟ لماذا لا تهتدي؟ ثم تقول الآيات: وإن يروا كسفا من السماء ساقطا يقولوا سحاب مركوم ولو أسقط الله السماء لهم لقالوا سحاب تجمع وكذا. الذي يرفض الإيمان يرفض الإيمان، الذي يرفض الهداية يرفض الهداية، لا نستطيع إجباره. فتأتي السورة في آخرها تقول: واصبر لحكم ربك. يا رسول الله اصبر فإنك بأعيننا. لفظ جميل في منتهى الحب للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولكل من سار على نهج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. تبقى سورة الطور هكذا تذكر: هناك طريقان، طريق الإيمان والهداية وطريق آخر، فاختر أي الطريقين تحب أن تكون ممن يلحق الله بهم ذريتهم في جنات النعيم، أم الذين يدعون إلى نار جهنم دعا. واختر أنت على أي جانب من جوانب الهداية والضلال. الله سبحانه وتعالى: تؤمن أم تأمرهم أحلامهم أم يقولون تقوله أم خلقوا. Surat An-Najm offers a different type of comparison. It compares knowledge and ignorance. It compares someone who is saying something based on true knowledge, on true understanding and comprehension, and those who speak ignorantly. They don't know what they're talking about. In Surat An-Najm, it's a surah that would take a couple of halaqat actually to explain the background, so I'm going to try and be very concise here and summarize it. It refers at the beginning of it to the journey the Prophet ﷺ made, the Mi'raj, where he went and saw the cosmos and saw the heavens, and made it to a point that was so close to God that no other creation has ever made. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins the وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى. He swears subhanahu wa ta'ala by the stars as they fall. مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. Your friend here, talking to the Prophet ﷺ, this man who is saying that he made it that, مَا ضَلَّ. He's not making this up, he's not lying, he's not confused. وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. He's not making this up either. He doesn't say whatever he wants. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. What he is teaching you is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught him. It's the knowledge that he was granted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's based on ilm, it's not hawa. He's not just saying what he wants. عَلَّمَهُ. He taught him. شَدِيدُ الْقُوَى ذُو مِرَّةٍ فَاسْتَوَى. This is talking about Jibreel alayhi salam. وهو بالأفق الأعلى ثم دنا فتدلى فكان قاب قوسين أو أدنى فأوحى إلى عبده ما أوحى ما كذب الفؤاد ما رأى أفتمارونه على ما يرى ولقد رآه نزلة أخرى عند سدرة المنتهى عندها جنة المأوى إذ يغشى السدرة ما يغشى ما زاغ البصر وما طغى لقد رأى من آيات ربه الكبرى. Some of the most beautiful verses in the Quran, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes to us how the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam made that journey. As he came closer, the Prophet ﷺ was left by Jibreel. He came close, dana fatadalla, was left. فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ. He was very, very close. Qaba Qawsayn is a figure of speech in Arabic meaning as close as you can get. Something that's very, very close. أو أدنى, even closer. فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أو أدنى فَأَوْحَى إِلَى عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. And that day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to the Prophet alayhi salam, taught the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam with wahi, whether he spoke to him or not, whether he saw him or not, that doesn't matter, we don't know. There's a long difference of opinion among scholars. It's not the point of the surah. فَأَوْحَى إِلَى عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. And then he taught him things that day. مَا كَذَبَ الْفُؤَادُ مَا رَأَى. His consciousness alayhi salatu wasalam was not lying when he heard these things and learned these things. أَفَتُمَارُونَهُ عَلَى مَا يَرَى. You want him to unsee what he saw? You want him to unlearn what he learned? He was there, he learned it, he witnessed it. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And then it happened again. عند سدرة المنتهى. When he was taken to even a higher place. Higher than the highest place any creation had ever reached. A place where Jibreel didn't even continue to go. Jibreel had to leave because the Prophet ﷺ was there alone in Sidrat al-Muntaha. There is where Jannah, that's where the Jannah is. That's where no creation has ever reached. إِذْ يَغْشَى السِّدْرَةَ مَا يَغْشَى. And as the Prophet ﷺ was there at the Sidra, the highest point that any creation ever arrived at, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covered it. Yaghsha meaning it was smothered. With what? With ma yaghsha, with whatever it was smothered with. What does that mean? We don't know. مَا زَاغَ الْبَصَرُ وَمَا طَغَى. He didn't look away, he didn't lie, he didn't make this up. He saw all of it. He saw the great signs of his Lord. And then the ayah continues, and it says, talking about the disbelievers who have all these idols, إِنْ هِيَ إِلَّا أَسْمَاءٌ سَمَّيْتُمُوهَا أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ بِهَا مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. You're giving these idols names and calling them lords, these are just names you made up, you and your fathers. You have no reason, you have no evidence for this. إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَمَا تَهْوَى الْأَنفُسُ. They just follow whatever their whims and desires tell them to. One is a probability, maybe. But there's no certainty, there's no true knowledge. This is what the ayat is. أَمْ لِلْإِنسَانِ مَا تَمَنَّى. The human being thinks he can get whatever he wants, whatever he wishes for. فَلِلَّهِ الْآخِرَةُ وَالْأُولَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns the Yawm al-Qiyamah and everything before it. He's the one who dictates. That's why إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ لَيُسَمُّونَ الْمَلَائِكَةَ تَسْمِيَةَ الْأُنْثَى. Those who don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make up names. They'll say all the angels are female or something random. وَمَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. They have no ilm, there's no knowledge here. إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ. They're just making things up. They're just whatever they heard. They have no certainty. They have no evidence. They have no chain of narration. They didn't learn this from a source that is validated. وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. A very important verse here. And dhann, it doesn't fulfill anything when we talk about righteousness. You need certainty. You need certainty. Those who think they know what may happen later or have an idea about it, that doesn't help you. This is a life and death choice. When you choose which path you're going to walk down, which direction you're going, this is the biggest choice you'll make in your life. You can't make it based on possibilities or probabilities. You need to make it on certainty. You have to know that you're taking this from a source that has knowledge. Actual knowledge. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks of Himself in this surah, He continues, He talks about His ability. هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِكُمْ إِذْ أَنْشَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ وَإِذْ أَنْتُمْ أَجِنَّةٌ فِي بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. He knows about you when you're a fetus in the womb of your mother. And when He brought you from the earth. And when you go and you live your life. So don't walk around saying, I can do this and I know this. Don't act like you know what you don't know and you are what you are not. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will validate and verify Yawm al-Qiyamah whether you are or you're not. Just leave that alone. See, when he talked about the disbelievers, the ayat before, He said, ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُهُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنْ ضَلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اهْتَدَى. When they make things up and they call idols names, that's what they have. That's the knowledge that they have. It's nothing. It's meaningless. It's worthless. It doesn't come from a source that can be validated. It doesn't come from a source that has certainty. But that's what they know. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the question, أَمْ لَمْ يُنَبَّأْ بِمَا فِي صُحُفِ مُوسَى. Or is it that they don't know what exists in the books of Musa? وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ الَّذِي وَفَّى. And the books of Ibrahim. See, they don't know. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. We're being given the knowledge, not just the knowledge of the Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but the knowledge of Musa and Ibrahim and all the prophets before. The source is validated, the source is authentic. Others, they don't know what we're talking about. That's why the end of Surat An-Najm is extremely powerful. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what exists in the books of Ibrahim and Musa. أَلَّا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى ثُمَّ يُجْزَاهُ الْجَزَاءَ الْأَوْفَى وَأَنَّ إِلَى رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى. That no soul will be punished for the action of another soul. أَلَّا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. And all that you're going to get Yawm al-Qiyamah is what you did, what you worked for, what your goals were, what your long-term goals that you were trying to achieve. That's what you're going to be rewarded or punished for Yawm al-Qiyamah. And that your actions are going to be seen, they're going to be analyzed and looked at and accounted for. And then you're going to be given your full deserts. Whether it's a reward or punishment, you'll be getting it in full. And then the end of all this is that you're going to return to your Lord again. And the ayat continue, أَنَّ إِلَى رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى. And it starts talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَنَّهُ هُوَ أَضْحَكَ وَأَبْكَى وَأَنَّهُ هُوَ أَمَاتَ وَأَحْيَا وَأَنَّهُ خَلَقَ الزَّوْجَيْنِ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنْثَى مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ إِذَا تُمْنَى. He starts talking about Allah. So He's the one who created. He is the one who granted life and death. He's the one who makes people laugh and cry. He's the one who gives people wealth and gives them less of it. And He is the one who punished Ad. And He's the one who punished Thamud. He's the one who punished the people of Nuh before that. And punished the people of Lut. And it goes through all these. وَالْمُؤْتَفِكَةَ أَهْوَى فَغَشَّاهَا مَا غَشَّ. It goes through this. He is the Lord of all the stars. He is the. To say, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكَ تَتَمَارَى. So what of all the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are you uncertain about? Where is your uncertainty? Where is it coming from? It's coming from the ignorance. It comes from ignorance. Those who have knowledge that the Surat An-Najm points out, the knowledge that the Prophet ﷺ obtained, the knowledge that the Quran is offering, the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has that He is sharing with us. He just shared with us words that existed in the book of Ibrahim ﷺ some, 10,000 years ago. Allah taziru. These are authentic, ancient words of wisdom that others don't know about. So they'll make things up. They'll make up idols and they'll just do whatever they want. Make up their own religion, give it a name, walk around with it. هذا نذير من النذر الأولى أزفت الآزفة. This indeed is a warning from the early warnings, similar to the early warnings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave all the people before who were punished. أزفت الآزفة. The time has come near. ليس لها من دون الله كاشفة. And when it happens, and when that moment actually happens, nothing can hold it back. أفمن هذا الحديث تعجبون. Are you in awe of what you're listening to right now? وتضحكون ولا تبكون. You think it's funny and you don't find this something that moves your emotions. وأنتم سامدون. As you waste your time and live aimlessly. فاسجدوا لله وعبدوا. And at this moment, there's a sajda tilawa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands, make sujood for Allah and to prostrate yourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him. And when you recite the verse, and I'll do that inshallah just when I'm done here, to prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a sajda tilawa. At the end of Surat An-Najm, this symphony that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in this surah, walking us through what the Prophet ﷺ experienced, and going through all the falsehood and all the dhann and all the make-up stories that the disbelievers seem to have put together and made a web of lies out of. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pointing out to us that He knows all. He knows what you are as you're as you're a fetus in the womb of your mother. Don't tell Him anything about yourself, but listen to what He is teaching you. Listen to the knowledge that He is offering you. Don't live a life of lies and falsehood and ignorance. Because He does it all. Beautiful verses. If Surah An-Najm is not well known to you, make it well known to you today. Go recite it today and enjoy the beauty of how it tells this story. And at the end of it, it's saying, why do you find any of this funny? Is any of this unclear to you? Is any of it can any of it be taken lightly? And the answer is no. So then prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him. أما سورة النجم فتحدثنا عن معراج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وتقارن بين العلم والجهل بين المعرفة التي أصلها من الله والتي منشأها من الله والتي تقوم على اليقين والجهل الذي يقوم على الظن. هكذا تجد في السورة إن يتبعون إلا الظن وما تهوى الأنفس إن يتبعون إلا الظن وإن الظن لا يغني من الحق شيئا. بينما الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول وما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى علمه شديد القوى هو أعلم بكم إذ أنشأكم من الأرض وإذ أنتم أجنة في بطون أمهاتكم فلا تزكوا أنفسكم. ثم يسأل هل تعلم ما في صحف موسى وإبراهيم الذي وفى؟ لا والله ما اسمع ألا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى وأن ليس للإنسان إلا ما سعى وأن هذه كلمات الحكمة التي وجدت منذ أكثر من 10,000 سنة. هذا العلم الذي ما تغير، هذا العلم الذي جاء به إبراهيم وجاء به موسى وجاء به عيسى وكل ما بينهم من الأنبياء وجاء به محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. هذا العلم الثابت من لدن ربنا. وغيرهم يخترعون إلا الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة لا يسمون الملائكة تسمية الأنثى وما لهم به من علم. هو عليه أساس تسمي؟ من أين أتيت بهذا؟ ذلك مبلغهم من العلم إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بمن اهتدى. ثم نهاية سورة النجم شديدة قوية وأنه هو أمات وأحيا وأنه خلق الزوجين الذكر والأنثى من نطفة إذا تمنى وأن عليه النشأة الأخرى وأنه هو أغنى وأقنى وأنه هو رب الشعرى وأنه أهلك عادا الأولى وثمود فما أبقى وقوم نوح من قبل إنهم كانوا هم أظلم وأطغى والمؤتفكة أهوى فغشاها ما غشى فبأي آلاء ربك تتمارى. ومن أجل ذلك في آخرها فاسجدوا لله واعبدوا. سجد التلاوة، الإنسان يعظم مثل هذا العلم الذي أوتيناه. من أعظم النعم علينا أن الله من علينا بعلمه، هذا العلم الذي لا ينتهي الذي لا أمد له، هذا العلم السرمدي الأبدي الذي أعطيناه والذي هو فعلا الهدية العظمى من لدنه سبحانه وتعالى. I hope that was beneficial. I hope those two surahs make sense and were helpful. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.